Hey folks, Quilly18 here, and welcome to Let's Try Steel Division Normandy 44. This is a real-time strategy game by the same people who made a handful of other really good real-time strategy games, like Ruse, what is it, like R.U.S.E. Ruse, it's a company called Eugene Systems as the developer, but it's published by Paradox, and this is a really kind of in-depth, lots of detail, World War II real-time strategy game where you are fighting over a specific battlefield. It doesn't have base creation or anything like that, but it does have a really interesting system for developing which units you're bringing with you to the battle, and then which units are being actually deployed on the fly in the middle of the battle that I find very, very, very compelling. If you have pre-ordered, you should be playing the same version that I'm playing here, which is to say, it's sort of preview. It's weird, because you're pre-ordering, but you're also getting the game now, but not exactly, because you can play multiplayer, and you can play solo skirmishes against the AI. The campaign is not available in this preview here, and there's only 2 maps overall. There's the Colombelles map here, and Point du Hoc over here. They are available in 3 different sizes, though. You can play it 1v1, 2v2, or 3v3, and 4v4. And it's the same base map, they just chop it up sort of differently and limit the play area in a few different ways depending on what size you are doing. So I'm going to do the 1v1 Colombelle over here. Disclaimer, this is only going to be my 3rd game of Steel Division. The first game I played online with Briarstone. It was the moment that the game had become available. Neither one of us had played it at all, really had no idea what we were doing. We had to figure out the controls on the fly, we had to figure out like what the various units were, no real idea about the mechanics or anything like that, and we got crushed by the very easy AI. We did 2v2, the 2 of us on one side versus a pair of AIs, and we got absolutely smashed. It wasn't even funny. Since then, I went and played one game on my own. Now, one of the big differences, when you play online, it plays in full normal speed. When you play on your own, the game's not technically pausable, but you can bring it down all the way to like bullet time speed. It's literally called bullet time, so it's super slow-mo. It's basically the same as being paused. And so that meant I could actually, like, you know, figure out what the hell I was doing. So I'm going to do another game here. I will go ahead and play against another easy AI. Not very easy. We'll just do easy over here. Hopefully we will win, but I don't think it'll be that easy. I'm going to leave all the options default. So again, in this particular early build, there's Destruction mode and Conquest mode. Destruction earns you points every time you kill units, is what it looks like. And then Conquest mode is about holding points, which I find a much more interesting concept. I will play this Colombelles map, which is the only one I really have any experience with, but at least I can talk about it a little. It's basically we're fighting over a train station and port. We'll do Axis versus Allies, because that sounds like a good idea. I will leave the starting resources and income rate the same. Our conquest point goal, I will leave the default, and the time limit I will also leave in as the default over here. Now, one of the things you have to do before you start is you have to choose your battle group over here that you're going to play with. So we can go and set one of these up, and in fact that's what we're going to do. And this is one of the first very, 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 very compelling things to do. You are going to be representing a particular battle group, which you can name. So let's call this the Let's Try battle group, okay? And you have to select a division that this battle group belongs to, and in this current build there are 2 to choose from on both sides over here. On the ally side, who we are representing at this time, we can choose from the 3rd Armored Division or the 15th Infantry Scottish. And it's kind of interesting. There's a few very, very critical differences between these. First of all, it's important to note the battle is handled in 3 different phases, and in each phase you get extra resources. So you start with 500 points to deploy your army at the start of the match, but every minute you get more points that you can use to deploy more and more troops. And it's worth noting that while all the numbers go up as the battle goes on, so as the battle rages on, represents more time has passed, so more of the slower units have been able to make it to the front, so more people can join, more supplies are reaching the front, so you get more and more and more points as the battle goes on. But notice how they're not weighted the same. The infantry get quite a few more points early on, but they don't get as many points later on as the armored one does. So the armored one really scales up as the battle rages, whereas the infantry starts a little stronger earlier on, doesn't end quite as strong, and they're going to have different units available. There's also a different number of sort of these cards that you can choose. We're going to choose the 3rd Armored Spearhead Division over here. We're going to select that. And so we have our battle group overview. So there are 8, not 7, 8 different categories of unit types. And each one of these, you can see that there's these weird slots, and there's a number over here of activations. Basically, you're not exactly building a deck of cards. It's not a deck that you're randomly drawing from. But as you deploy things, you actually have to sort of spend a card. You've got all the cards in front of you. You have to spend a card to deploy one of those units in there, as well as paying for their recruitment cost or whatever the mechanic is. And the 3rd Armored Spearhead is allowed to choose up to 36. The Scottish Infantry could choose up to 40. And yeah, they come in all these different categories. Now, you can't always just hit autofill over here, and the game will put some things in that seem appropriate, but you can also go and tune this. And actually, this is the view that I like to work in the most. So you can see our 8 categories up over here, and then just below, we've got a series of spots that we can place things in. These are the available units. Sometimes, there we go, sometimes it's a scrolling list. In the case of the recon over here, it's not. So we can grab, these are stacks. So for example, in the recon, if I decided I really wanted some of these scouts over here, I can take this and drag this in there, and this will be available to me in the battle. It'll make it really obvious and understandable what's going on once we start. You can see I've used one of my 36 activations over here. I could change my mind, put it back there, that's fine. Okay? It says ×4 over here. I'll actually have 4 of these cards. It means I can deploy this type of scout 4 times. I can deploy 4 of these units all over the map if I wanted. This is a group of X number of actual individuals. And oh, I like this too, because you can pin one, which is what I just did over here. So I can unpin it, I can pin it with the red pin, and then you can mouse over something else and do some comparisons. So my scouts over here will be deployed. So you think it's a relatively small group. I don't know if they tell. Oh, strength. There you go. 4 soldiers, literally 4 soldiers in this tiny little squad here. 2 of them are going to be carrying the Thompson, .45. I don't know what the ACP stands for, but 45 caliber or .45 caliber. I don't know guns, so I don't know the proper way to refer to this. But they have a Tommy gun over here. Great stuff. It's got a range of 100 meters. It comes with 600 bullets, and you can see their rate of fire, 171 rounds per minute. And then you have the damage. So this is their high explosive value. I don't think they're actually explosive rounds, but high explosive damage is good against soft targets, like squishy humans, as opposed to people who have armor-piercing weapons. None of the people in the recon groups do, but these guys over here, for example, they actually do have an M1 bazooka over here, which you'll see has armor-piercing damage instead. So they've got a weapon that they can use against tanks, as an example. So, looking back at the scouts over here, so we've got 2 of those Thompsons, we've got 2 of these M1 carbines, which have double the range, but your scouts are not really meant for fighting. It's kind of interesting. They've got, in the top left corner here, you can see the unit specialization. Everyone in the recon category has the recon specialization, in this case, and these guys are interesting. They don't push the front line. They also don't suffer morale penalties in enemy territory. Their whole goal is to sneak into enemy territory using their very good stealth. They're very unlikely to get spotted. They can take a forward position. Because they don't push the front line, the enemy has no idea that they should be looking around for someone there, and because of their stealth, it's even unlikely that someone moving by them will spot them. They use their very, very good optics here to be able to give you vision inside of enemy territory. So all the recon units do that. But you'll also notice that there's this letter A over here. This refers to what phase of combat they'll be able to be deployed in. I think phase A lasts 10 minutes, phase B lasts 20 minutes, and phase C lasts 10 minutes, I believe. And you can tune the timers and do a bunch of different things like that. So for example, these scout groups over here are considerably more potent, partially because they are going around in an M3 vehicle, which is armed with a weapon over here. So 800-meter range weapon, actually quite a potent little beast over here as they move around. I don't know if the speed's is good. These move at 23. These scouts, how fast are they? 25. Well, 25/100. You can see here. So that's off-road and the road speeds. 25, 100, and these guys, yeah, 23, 95. So these guys are slower, but they are going around in an armored vehicle, which actually has some armor here. You can see here it's one. I think this is the rear, these are the sides, and this is the front. And if we take a look at the Jeep, no armor whatsoever. So it's a little faster, but yeah. But these can only be deployed in Phase B which is very, very important to compare. But other than that, the weapons, and I like this comparison, right? You pin one and then you mouse over the other one, you compare. The actual scouts are identical. They just come with different vehicles over here. So we can decide what we put in here. We can use up to 36 of these cards. I think I might leave some of these scouts for last. Maybe we'll start at the end here, air. This particular division only has spots for 3 air cards. And again, you've got to choose. I mean, there's so many options. Look how many choices I have for air. But I can only put 3 of those in there. Do we want airplanes in phase 1? Or do you want to sort of load everything in the later phases? Note that I can get a P-38 Lightning in phase B. I can get the same P-38 Lightning over here in phase C. The difference is that this phase C version has 2 cards, which means I can use this thing and deploy it twice. So I get twice as many P-38s if I just take the phase C card. You can also notice over here, these are both phase C P-38 Lightnings. This has 2 cards, this only has 1, but these guys have 2 dots of experience, which improves basically everything that they do. So do I want twice as many Lightnings, or do I want one really good Lightning that I can put out? These guys are heavy bombers. I believe this is mostly, if we look at the bomb over here, it's high explosive damage, good against squishy targets. The P-47 Thunderbolts over here are more, I thought there were more tank killers. Oh no, these are different. Yeah, these are, okay, so these are still high explosive rockets over here. Oh, look at it's the AoE. These guys here, first of all, they do have more ammo. They have 10 shots of their rockets. They have an AoE, an area effect of 25 meters. The P-38 Lightning only carries 2 of these bombs, but they have an 80-meter radius. They also do 6 high-impact damage. Well, these do 19. It's a lot. It's surprisingly a lot. Wow, the P-38's really good. There's a symbol, I thought, for more tank killers. We might actually not have any. It's possible that none of these guys have armor-piercing weapons, which is interesting and different than what I expected. But yeah, so these are dogfighters. So you can see these guys here only have some machine guns over here, and they're particularly good at fighting other planes. It's dedicated to engage and shoot down enemy planes. They also can give recon. Notice that these guys all have recon ability, but they all have relatively decent vision. You can use these planes to help you scout out what's going on. So what do we do? What do we do? Okay, so you can get P-38 Lightnings that carry the heavy bombs, or you can get the ones that carry the rockets over here. And you do get 3 of these cards. Oh, and look at this. These guys, these P-38 Lightnings, have only 6 shots and do less damage than the P-47 Lightning Bolts, which are using bigger rockets. They have more of them, and they do more damage, but there's only 2 cards. So many decisions. Anyway, let's go ahead and start trying to build the deck. Let's go and use the P-47 Thunderbolts, and we'll pair them off with the P-51D Mustangs to shoot down enemy planes as well. And maybe we'll get a Phase C variant as well. It's interesting, there's no more dogfighters in the Phase C. I think what I'll get for Phase C is I'm going to go and get the P-38 Lightnings with the high-yield bombs, or the heavy bombers that do really, really big explosions. Okay, then there's artillery. Artillery is interesting because as far as I can tell, they don't tend to auto-fire. They do have ridiculous range, though. Oh, they actually have an anti-tank gun on this. The Calliope here is very cool. So it's basically a tank with some rockets loaded on top over here. So yeah, they have an anti-tank gun. It's got a range of 1,000. It can do armor piercing. It also does high explosive value. Not a huge amount, but it does some, especially for the range. We've got the Browning over here, which is particularly a lot better at the high explosive. And the final thing is that they have these T-34 rockets over here with a range of 1,300 meters, a 46-meter AoE, and 30 high explosive value. Just really brutal. It's worth noting you'd only get 1. Right? If you take this Calliope, you only get the 1. If we compare the M7 over here, we get 2 cards instead. It has considerably reduced range. I don't think it identifies which one of these has the indirect fire. No, it has indirect fire, so it can fire when it doesn't have actual vision. Actually, was that the symbol here? See how it's got the explosion over here, as opposed to the bullets? I think that's what's happening. I think this is our indirect fire one. So it's got a range of 2,400, which is huge. So the Calliope has less range. Big, big, big damage, though. And again, how do you choose this? And then you've got all the Phase C guys who are crazy as well. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to get at least one mortar group for early in the game. If we compare the mortars to the M21s and what options we have there, the mortar group has... Well, so it has basically they have one mortar weapon. They can fire either a high explosive or they can fire a smoke cloud to give you cover. Meanwhile, the M21 has got considerably better range, same damage, more ammo, AoE's a little bit better, and they've got a couple of direct fire options. The M21s are more expensive to deploy, but I think we might actually just do that. I think I'm going to use 2 of these guys. That's going to be okay. Maybe we'll use one of the M7s with crazy range. Maybe the Calliope. It's got less range, but huge, huge, great damage, and do something like that. And then maybe we'll throw in an extra M7. I don't know if I'll fill this group in yet, because we may not have the activations, but we got a good amount of artillery that you can use. But again, the artillery sort of kind of has to be manually targeted. It doesn't auto-fire. I mean, some of their guns will auto-fire, but not the actual indirect attack. You kind of sort of have to force it. Anti-air units, I'm really a fan of these. I don't know if I'll prioritize early game anti-air units. I don't know if I'm worried about shooting down their scouts so much. Although some of these guys... I mean, you still have a gun. I wonder if this guy can fire normally. Like this... The M16 MGMC. Is there anything that indicates that this is only anti-air? I wonder if we can shoot all kinds of things. It's just particularly good at shooting up. Because of something. I'm not sure. Take a look at, well, that's the same one. The Bofors over here. Oh, it does have a slightly different icon. Oh, also, okay, that's just the vehicle. The Bofors over here, they go around in the vehicle. They go around in this M3HT. And then you've got the Bofors itself, which can be deployed, which looks like a giant cannon. Anti-air cannon, I guess. And yeah, it's got a different symbol here. Got a bit of an AoE, decent range. Like, you can deploy this and cover an area, and that might work out. I think what we'll do is I'll probably skip the A's. There's some risk in doing that, but I think it's going to be okay. And what we'll do is... what's their difference here? Range 800. Ooh. Actually, he's got multiple guns and slightly better range. I know we've only got 2, but I'm actually going to go ahead and grab maybe 2 stacks of those. So these are all identical, and then a couple of C versions of it. So we'll only worry about these M15 CGMCs over here, which have got quite a bit of variety of firepower and might be useful in different things. Okay, anti-tank. These are going to be really important. The Phase A, all we've got are the M5 guns, but we've got 2 options about how to deploy them. We can carry them around in a Jeep and then drop them off somewhere, or we can carry them around in this M3HT over here, which is... Worth noting, the M3HT, because it's got a track over here, it has much better off-road speed. You can go 35 kilometers an hour instead of 25, which is the Jeep, but worse on-road speed. We might actually want a mix. So let's do one Jeep version. Oh, wow, we only have 3 slots for anti-tank, though. Okay, we'll do the Jeep version, and so that way we can deploy them along the roads right at the start of the game. Oh, these symbols are different. There's already been a patch, because there used to just be one symbol for anti-tank. Now the symbol actually tells you how strong it is versus anti-tank. That's very nice. So this one would be a version with experience points, or we can have a version that we get 2 cards. I think I'm going to do that. Obviously, we have to be a little conscious of the cost. It would take us over a minute of reinforcements to earn this one. So do you really buy it more than once? This one's actually a little cheaper, too. Not just the experience, it's got a lesser truck. Yeah, really bad off-road and not that quick. It's cheap, it's got the experience. It would be very good at what it does. You know what? I'm going to do that. That's going to be fine. And then in the end phase, we'll take this variant over here, again, the experienced one. So we'll be deploying fewer anti-tank units, but hopefully they'll be really good. All right, support comes in a few different flavors. You've got these guys actually have the ability to resupply it. They're going to come around with a certain amount of munitions. Presumably, these are wildcard munitions that can be used for anything, but some of your units could run out of ammo, and then you might want to have the option of resupplying them. These guys here are platoon leader squads. They can give a boost. They improve resilience and fighting abilities of nearby units. These are also going to be going around in an M20 command vehicle, which is high explosive, range of 80. So, I mean, it can definitely fight. Decent range. It's got some amount of armor as well, so we might want to consider that. And then you've got these units here, which don't have anything special going on at all, right? They're not recon, they're not rearmament, they're not command troops, but they're just sort of, I guess, catch-all miscellaneous category. So it's like, here would be an example, I guess, of a different kind of tank. Because we have tanks over here, and then you have that support tank. And I mean, how would this... Okay, the support version is not quite as heavily armored as these guys. But they have some of the same guns. So, sort of a really light tank. I mean, it doesn't really give you much in the way of vision. It is fast. I will say that. That M8 Scott is really fast. That's tempting. Let's fill out these tanks, though. So, early on, we've got... They're all M5A1s in our Phase A. We've got the option of a stack of 5 of the generics, stack of 2 that have more experience and are leaders, which is quite nice, or we could go with a singleton, but he is experienced. He actually has higher armor piercing as well. That might be... oh, they have slightly different loadouts. These two... Okay, these guys are all identical. They have the single 37mm and triple 7.62mm guns. These... Oh, it's M4A1. See, these are all M5A1s. This is an M4A1. So it's got a 75mm gun, a lot more armor piercing. So this is going to win a lot more tank v tank battles. But you only get a single one. And then you've got this. Is it better that we can deploy this one 5 times? Although it costs 90 every time. Or here we can only deploy these guys twice. But they're going to be a lot more bang for your buck. And I don't know. I don't know how influential experience is yet. I think early on, what I want to do really early on in the game is I'm going to deploy maybe, because you got 500 points, and that's one of the things you can consider. How are you going to spend your first 500 points? And, you know, every 3 minutes, I'll be able to deploy another 2 of these. So early on, we could deploy the whole stack of 5 while still doing infantry and recon and anti-tank and all those things, but... I'm actually, you know what? I think I'm going to do the command version. The problem is, I think they're going to be mostly, I don't know what the range of this command ability is the one thing. Of nearby units. I don't know how far that is. And I'm thinking I'm actually going to be deploying these tanks a little bit more solo. Okay, let me grab the stack of 5 after all and call that good enough. And then in phase 2, so M4A3s, or experienced versions, and the option of a command one. Tell you what, let's grab one of the command M4A1s and a stack of experienced M4A3s for phase 2. The M4A3 76s as opposed to 75, so these just have bigger guns, so they're better at killing other tanks. Which is really what I want to use these guys for. But they're singles as opposed to stacks of 3. Like, that is a big deal. Maybe we can just grab one of these. We'll have to deploy them somewhere where we see the enemy deploying more tanks and use them for that. I love the fact that they added a number here instead of just the symbol. That has changed since yesterday, which is pretty crazy how much there's developing. All right, then we got the Jumbo over here. Look at its armor. 21 in the front versus 11. This guy, like, Jumbo, I guess, is earning his name. This is worth noting. This is an experienced version of the M4A3, and you get 3 of them. This is non-experienced, and you only get 2. The Jumbo also has less armor piercing than the M4A3. What's the range? No, the M4A3's got better range as well. I think I'm going to go ahead with that. Now, we've got some extra space over here, and we'll come back to that. Most likely, we're going to want a second stack of these sea level tanks. All right, infantry, but we don't have any infantry yet. Now, there's a couple of different versions of these guys. Ooh, am I thinking? Oh, I think I was looking at the Scottish one before. I like these guys here with the Browning machine guns. Really good for holding territory, but we don't have that option yet. In the A group, we have, we only have 2 variants of infantry available to us. Either they have a bazooka, or they don't. But they're experienced, and they're command units. Oh. Well, why don't we consider deploying them in pairs, right? If we grab both of these in A, and deploy them in pairs, where we send one of these guys, who are cheaper, and have the bazooka, and we get a stack of 4, we put them somewhere, and then we put a leader near them. He's got the experience, which is good, and he's got the leader trait, so they'll buff each other. That sounds pretty good. I really like the Browning ones for holding some territory. They're pretty good weapons. They've got a range of 600 versus the 200 or 300 range that a lot of the other units will have, which is very, very, very nice. They're great at holding that. Now, these guys are engineers who have TNT. Now, I think you activate this. It's got a range of 100. I'm thinking they might just launch the TNT, almost like an indirect attack or something like that. That's pretty good, I gotta say. We could have some more people with anti-tank weapons, but, I mean, we're gonna have some anti-tank already dealt with. Oh, these guys come with light machine guns. So less range than the Browning, but how's the damage compare? Well, the Browning's got more damage, more range. But the groups of the Brownings do move a lot slower. It's a lot heavier, is what we're talking about here. And do we not have any C-type infantry in this? What? There's no C-type infantry. What is this madness? All right, let's do that. I think we might want some more A's. We're just going to need more numbers. There we go. We'll throw in more of the non-experienced A versions. We should probably have some sort of B's that's got the anti-tank. We're going to rely on a fair amount of infantry, so we're going to do that. We had the scouts over here for recon. These M8s aren't bad. They do have decent range. They don't have a huge amount of armor piercing, but they've got something. And a little bit of scouting is good. On the other hand, I kind of like the scouts being on foot because they can go and enter into buildings and things like that. But no, I think that's okay. You know, I think we'll grab a scout for each phase. It brings us up to 30, which is okay. Our air was done. Our artillery's got 1 gap in there. Anti-air's got a gap. We don't have any support. It probably... I think it's probably smart to get something that can reload someone. Right, we got the flamethrowers as well, which are, I think, devastating against other infantry, and in particular, can probably clear out buildings. Wipe out entire squad environment, terrorize survivors, range very limited. Flamethrower can engage an armored unit, but with much lesser effect. It's interesting, and we have some fast-moving jeeps. These guys, these are also jeeps that you can, I believe, deploy to pick up people. That's a big part of what some of these things are, right? This is just an empty truck. This is just an empty jeep plus a driver. So they can go and pick up some dudes. Yeah, transport, heavy. Transport, heavy. Okay, yeah, that's it. And then the jeeps over here, transport. Oh, no transport at all. I guess it's because it's got the gun in there. I mean, this is going to be something that fast deploy and half-decent range. It's interesting to consider that. Right, and you've got the bullets in there. So I think I'm going to get a B refueler over here. Get some experienced tanks. No armor piercing whatsoever. That's interesting. So these guys don't armor pierce. I guess they're using explosive shells or something like that. They're quasi direct fire artillery almost. Range 1200, 14 damage high explosive shells with an AoE. So you can't kill other tanks with this, but you can clear the hell out of some infantry nests. Alright, we're going to have a little more of that. Brings us up to 33. Tanks, we've got more room in here for more tanks. Let's get some more A tanks over here. Yeah, we'll grab one of the command versions. So we've got the command, non-command, and A. We've got command and a couple of non-commands in the B with some variety in there, and some big C stacks as well. I think I'm going to want some more Bs. Do we want a second one of these experienced super long-range tank killers? I like it. I like that a lot. All right. We can put one more something in here. I don't remember what the difference between these guys are. Oh, these, right. These are, I've got the 30, well, I don't know, the 762. I guess the 30 gauge gun on the back is probably what that is over there. So these guys are using an armored Jeep, or an armed Jeep to go around, which is fine. We can get more spotting. I think if we're going to do anything, though, I don't know if we'll deploy this much artillery, but tell you what, let's get a mortar group of artillery. They're really cheap, and it might be a little easier to deploy them early on and get the pricing to fit. Okay, so we're going to save this. So this first episode is going to be all designing our battle group over here, which is going to be this. So now that we've got that, we can go back to the... there's our Let's Try group. Select that. Go back. Or actually, just go back. There you go. Then it's in the list over here. So we're going to be running the Let's Try group. The AI will be using some sort of random pre-made deck. We don't know what it is. And we'll face them in Colombelle and see how that goes. We're going to actually start the battle in the next episode. Thank you very much for watching, folks. See you next time.